authentically peculiar, authentically peculiar, authentically peculiar.
Welcome back to Authentically Peculiar with Marcia. I am elated to do the final session for the Black women and anger, very different from the trope angry Black women. In this final session, my goal and hope is to offer some suggestions on how to balance things out when you find yourself becoming angry. To kind of recap the first four sessions, in those first four sessions, three sessions, sorry, we discussed the history where that anger can come from. We talked about what misogyny and childhood influences are on Black women and their experiences of anger. We went into a little detail with some question and answers, hopefully, with getting you to a place where you understand that anger is a secondary emotion. It is in response to something that has created distress in you. It is the movement that is expected from women when they are challenged or presumed challenged by situations and circumstances. The reason why the trope angry Black woman exists is because once we become passionate about a situation or a circumstance, once we begin to elevate our voices in that passion, not from anger, it's presumed that we are angry. We're not angry, we're expressive. Just because you become intimidated when we deliver how we feel about something doesn't mean that we're angry. So, here are a few tools to really help you kind of identify what's going on if you're experiencing anger and how to redirect your energy. So, the first suggestion is get to know who you are. What exactly does that mean? Get to know the person of you. Get to know how you are triggered, how certain past experiences may impact your current frustrations, your anger. I want you to think of it like this: the reason that you're feeling angry today has nothing really to do with today. It has everything to do with the residue of what you experienced in the past. So here's the first tip: ask yourself, is this reality or residue? The residue is the subconscious reminder of the experiences that you had that led to disappointment, led to frustration, led to behavioral responses that represent anger. It is the disappointment from those experiences that continue to linger, causing you to express yourself through anger. Is it reality or residue? The reality is that someone is in your face doing something that's a reminder of something that happened in your past. I'll use me for an example. In my past, because I grew up in a childhood situation where there was often raised voices and yelling and spanking, that part of a trigger for me is for people to begin to stand over me, talk over me, and then talk loudly and down to me. That automatically puts me in a defensive position. What I've learned about myself is I have to go inward and calm me down, because if not, I will react in a level of anger and explosion as a sense of defense mechanism. But I've also learned that I don't have to give anyone permission to take me to that level of anger. When someone is raising their voice, trying to get their point across, or even standing over me, I have the right to say, I need you to back up a few spaces. I need you to lower your tone. That then puts the power back in your hands when you're asking yourself, is this reality or residue? You want to keep that in your side pocket. You want to begin to activate that idea as soon as possible, because our truth is when we recognize if it's reality or residue, we have a winning chance. If it's your reality, if this is something brand new or it feels brand new, I still want to encourage you, tap back into your past. See where the root of their frustration and their anger lies so that you can be your best self and represent your best self at all costs. Okay? Second tip for the day or for this series is I want you to be able to honor you through your own forgiveness. What exactly am I saying? I'm saying to you that oftentimes you find yourself frustrated, and I'll speak for me, find yourself frustrated in how you responded. And this was in me in my 20s and 30s. I would fire off at a heartbeat in this place of needing to defend myself, getting people to hear me and honor me, and things of that nature. But what I realized in my older years is I don't need to defend me. So I had to go back and forgive my actions and reactions to situations so that I would not continue to negatively speak to myself, so that I would not continue to accept others speaking negatively to me. When you offer a space of forgiveness for yourself, you also offer yourself grace. Being able to control your emotional responses are associated with the levels of grace that you allow yourself to experience. If you're not allowing yourself to experience grace, then don't really expect grace from other people. The grace has to start within you. Anything that you want others to respect and honor within you, it definitely has to start within you. It has to be a part of your own makeup. Years ago, I would make myself the pun of jokes about who I was and my size and things of that nature because I had heard for years that people wouldn't want me because I was overweight and all of those kind of things. So I took that on, I breathed that energy into me. So, third tip of the day is watch how you speak to yourself. Watch how you allow others' words to penetrate who you are. You don't have to accept anything outside of your name. My grandmother would often say, you never have to answer to anything other than the name that your mama gave you. And I hold dear to that because when I would be challenged and be called. I've been called so much, y'all. I've been called masculine because I got a thick neck and I was athletic. I've been called a dyke. I'm not. There's nothing wrong with anyone's sexual orientation. That's who you are. It just wasn't me. It was a label that was trying to be pinned on me because of my broad shoulders, my thick neck, my athleticism, and all that kind of stuff. So I would become frustrated because I felt like I needed to defend myself to prove that I was feminine enough and that I was woman. Please. I was wasting so much time and energy on people who didn't matter. Their opinion, it did not matter. What mattered was what I thought about myself. What mattered was the words that I was actually speaking to myself. I was called a Jezebel because I was a single mother and had kids out of wedlock. I was called a bitch. I was called whores. I was called a wannabe white. I was called a lot of stuff. None of that is Marcia. When I looked up the definition of my name, and it means warrior, filled with wisdom, embracing the fight, I began to answer to that name. That is who I am. That is who my mother named me to be. So I no longer needed to defend what others thought or felt about me. That was on them. The truth is when people decide to talk about you or call you out of your names and things of that nature, it is a true reflection of who they are, not who you are. You need to own that. Own the words. Speak life into who you are and your existence. You need to own that you are in control of who you are. You're the master of your fate. You're the designer of your destiny, and your words are a part of the process that equips you to be your best self. I often tell my clients that you speak what you want to penetrate your heart. From your heart, you want it to penetrate your head. From your head, you want it to penetrate your action. When you speak life out of your mouth, it taps into your heart, navigated through your ears, gets through your head, and then causes you to react and act. Don't allow your words to be damaging or self-sabotaging to yourself. The fourth tip that I have for you today is take time to check in and identify if your ego is bruised. A lot of time when we experience levels of trauma, we move into this defensive state because of our egos, because we're hurt, because we experience some pain. When our voices were snatched from me, I talked to a client the other day and I reminded her that the trauma that you experienced as a young child, not being heard, told to shut up and move into a corner and be quiet, getting into relationships where your word wasn't honored, getting into the workplace where people told you that what you had to say was not enough. Your ego was bruised and anger was the result. You have to give yourself permission to go back and recapture your voice. Nobody's going to give that to you. That's something that you're going to have to give to yourself. That is something that you're going to have to say to yourself, that my voice is powerful and empowered. I am not afraid of what others think or feel about my voice. My voice deserves to be heard. I deserve to be heard. Create reminders for yourself of the importance of your voice, not your ego, but your voice, the strength of your voice. You are more than capable of expressing yourself. You've been told that you weren't, but I'm here to tell you different. You are more than capable of expressing who you are. You are your biggest asset. It doesn't matter how many people say, I know you, you need to do this, you've always acted like that. Know yourself, know your voice, know what's right and wrong for you, and express that. When you find yourself cowling down because someone has made you to feel as if your voice didn't matter, you need to go inside and pull up that strength and remind them, I have a point to make. And it doesn't have to be loud or boisterous. It doesn't have to be filled with rage and anger. It could be passionate. It could be very calm. I often tell people, I can kill you with kindness through how I speak. I don't have to raise my voice. I remember being in labor with my son, and um, my sister was by my side, and I was having, the pains and all that kind of stuff. And the doctor was having a conversation with me, and she said, your voice could have killed the whole room as calm as you were. And I started laughing, and I said to her, I recognize that when I am feeling different emotions that can range from mad to anger, I have to have voice control, because if I don't, the pain that I'm going to feel is going to be more intense. It's going to hurt me more than it hurts the other person that I'm speaking to. And I keep that as a part of my process simply because I recognize that if I allow myself, when I'm mad, to get to an escalated place, I'm a blow. I know that about Marcia. And I know probably some of you young people be like, oh man, these Gen Xers, they think that they're bad and they're tough. I will tell you, two parts of me you don't want to ever experience, and I know this for myself, is when I become completely silent. I am far worse when I am loud. When I'm loud, I've already killed you. not being funny, not bragging. That is the reason why when anger comes, you have to know what your triggers are. When situations, not anger, I apologize. When situations come that may trigger you to anger, you got to know you. You got to know what those things are. I pass out an anger thermometer in therapy, and I ask clients, I never ask them to be at zero, because to me, being at zero is not really realistic, because there are times that you're going to get mad. You can be even killed and mad. But to say that you don't experience madness or anger, anything of that nature, is kind of lying to yourself. So I give them this anger thermometer and ask them to let me know what triggers would get them to 1 or 2 to 5 or 6, and then to 10, with the goal of staying between 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. Always identifying, what do I need to do to bring myself down? I've sat in situations and in leadership uh, meetings and things of that nature where I would be furious, but no one in the room would know that I was filled with fury, because my voice would remain calm. My stance would remain consistent. My passion would be heard, and it would be very direct. There was no room to misinterpret what I was saying. I'm saying to you that when you are in check of your own ego, it gives you the sense of control in any environment. You're going to be the one that tugs on your leg and say, hey, calm down. They don't get to see anger in you. One of the things that I know is when your ego is out of control and people want to get the best of you, they look to see what those spots are that can get you there, that can trigger you. So if you don't give them the energy to know that you can be triggered, they don't have anything to hold on to. They can't push that button. They can't say little words. I remember that as a single parent, I always felt like I needed to justify my parenting. I always felt like I needed to um, defend my parenting stance. And because that was a known trigger, I had an ex husband that would constantly challenge my parenting ability when he wasn't even involved with his own child's life. I had to encourage that connection. But he would try to challenge that to get a response out of me. And after I recognized that I didn't have to respond, because I knew who I was as a parent, or am as a parent, because I know the sacrifices and the gifts that I bring into parenting, I stopped responding, which then made him try to identify other areas to try to create a triggered response so he could stand back and say, see, I knew you weren't controlled. I knew you weren't this and that. Don't give anyone that space. Don't give anyone the room to think that they could trigger you to a point of action so that they can then use your reaction against you. The last tip that I would tell you is be gentle with yourself. We have all made mistakes. We have all had to own our decisions. We've all had to make some changes. We've had to evolve. We've had to mature. Be gentle with yourself. I have a client, and we talk all the time, and she'll say, Marcia, don't be mad at me, but I backtracked and I just went off. And I would say to her, be gentle with yourself. Show yourself some grace. You spent years of anger explosions. They don't go away overnight. You have to put yourself in a position where you calm yourself, identify your changes, become familiar with the things that trigger you, reverse those triggers with positive things. Say, for example, if you know that you're triggered because someone talks about you as a single parent, they challenge you on your single parenting, your offset to that trigger is to remind yourself, I am a good parent. I am a parent that is supportive and nurturing and capable. I am, if they talk about you being a spouse, I know it was a running joke in my family that, you know what, Marcia gonna keep a man and she gonna fire a man at the same time. And I used to get offended at that. And I recognized my reality was this. My standards were set. Once I knew what my value was, my standards were set. I'm not in the business of keeping folks that don't want to be kept. That's not my job. I'm not in the business of belittling myself because I want to say I have a relationship. I've seen a lot of relationships that have lasted 20, 30, 40 years, and I've seen a lot of misery come out of those relationships because people weren't true to themselves. So I own my standards and my expectations. I express my standards and my expectations, and I no longer live in a state of desperation that society says I can only be woman if I have a mate, if I have a spouse. No, I'm woman. I was born woman. I was born to be the queen in my life. I was born with wisdom and empathy and nurturing. I was born with a protective gene. I was born to be expressive, whether it's with my hair, with my makeup, with my clothing, with my words, with my actions, with my love. I was born with it. The problem is society tries to strip it out of you very early. And in them trying to strip it away from you, we cave in to those societal norms. We forget we were born woman. We gave birth to existence. The power that is inside of us does not have to be demonstrated through anger, but through passion, through love, through forgiveness, through acceptance, through esteem, through the words of encouragement and affirmation, through the reduction of self sabotage, to the lifting up of all that is great in front of you. So you see, my dear sisters, don't be consumed with anger. Don't be consumed with rage. Tap into the thing that hurt you, that causes you to be that causes you to be on high alert, waiting for disappointment to come. I am a true believer that whatever goes up has to come down. If you're always in a defensive state of existence, you're always going to be in a defensive state of existence. Give yourself that permission to move inside of grace. Give yourself permission to honor the truth of who you are. Give yourself permission to feel and control when you are angered. Never give that to anyone else. Trust and believe in yourself. Revisit situations from your past that may be triggers, tongue tied this morning, triggers of your anger. And then flip the script. Take your control, your voice, and your power back into your existence. Thank you for tuning in to this 4-part series on Black women and anger, not to be confused with the trope, angry Black woman. I encourage you to go out and check me out on YouTube and all other social media platforms at Authentically Peculiar Marcia. Go ahead and grab your books from marciablaine.com, marciablainebooks.com, or marciablaine.com, or Amazon. On the Marcia Blaine website, you can subscribe to the weekly newsletter that's going to give you some wisdom, some hints, and some encouragement to help you make it through day by day. I hope that 2025, although it's off to a rocky start, that you grab hold to who you are, love and appreciate all of who you are, and continue to grow by leaps and bounds in authenticity. It doesn't matter what it looks like, it does matter what you accept. Take good care, and I'll see you for the remainder of the season 2025 Authentically Peculiar with Marcia.